got to start again. Pack my bags to nowhere, to no time, no place. You and I, we used each other's shoulder. Still so young, but somehow so much older. How can I go home and not get blown away? Ain't nobody gonna steal this heart away. 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 Well, I don't know if you noticed that last video I didn't have my hat on, because that's not my job, playing songs. It's not my job. Other people's job to do that. And this is the only weapon a man needs today. When the war is over, got to start again. It's the only weapon a man needs. And I'm looking at the table here and I'm seeing a movie I watched last night. And I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's called Groundhog Day. If you haven't seen this movie, I recommend that you really do see it, because, and if you've already seen it, watch it again. I was down the charity shop yesterday and I rooting through the DVDs, which they sell for 10p each, and I was lucky enough to find this, which I watched years ago, and I knew it was a great movie, and so I thought, well, I'll get it again. And I watched it again and I had an idea about what it was about from many years ago when I saw it, when it first came out, I think. And I saw a lot more in the movie this time than I saw the first time. It's always the same with movies. And so I didn't remember him actually waking up the next day. I don't know if that was even in the movie. Maybe I turned it off before the end, I don't know. All I could remember was that he had to live this day over and over. And he started off as a rich arsehole, and he ended up at the end as Jesus Christ himself, yeah. And so what he'd done in the course of the movie, and by living the day over and over and over, when he woke up in the morning, it was the same day and the same people in it. It's a great movie, actually. Yeah. It's very profound. And so he kind of started off thinking, well, if I've got to live this day over and over again, I may as well just have as much fun as I can at the expense of everybody else. So he tried that approach, and that didn't work. And so then he started to live in a slightly different way. And in the end, he ended up helping people. And by helping people, he kind of enjoyed his day. And he didn't really, right at the end, he didn't care whether he woke up on another day or the same day. He'd found immortality within the day, if you like. And then it turned out he got the lady, a nice lady in the end, and the day rolled over and he ended up in the day after Groundhog Day with the nice lady, together with the nice lady. So it's a remarkable movie, really, and it's a movie that shows how we can get things wrong and what can happen if we get things right. And the day, if you like, is a parable for a life, because this is what happens to us in our life. You know, at the end of our life, God takes the groundhog, he pulls the groundhog out of the ground, and he looks at the groundhog and he says, "Are you good enough?" And if the answer is no, then he puts the groundhog back in the ground, in the earth, for another day, or another life, if you like. And so, only when the groundhog is good enough can he proceed to the next step on the great chain of being, on the great way, if you like, and find out what happens after death. And so, here we are, all of us living our life on earth, and we seem to be making the same mistake over and over and over. And this mistake is culminating in war, great war, and everybody gets killed, and then we have to start again. When the war is over, got to start again. And when World War II was over, my parents were left alive at the end of the war, and so they were a lovely couple. They found each other. It's very interesting because my father went back home. It's a great story, actually. After the war, he went back to his parents' house after being around. You know, he was stationed in Egypt and places like this. And at the end of the war, he went back home to his mother's house. And my mother had to go to London and man the ACAC guns, and she was shooting down planes coming into London, the V bombers and so on. And so she went home, and there was quite an age difference between the two of them, which is good in a lady and a gentleman. And she was living across the road. So after the war, they looked across to the two houses at each other, and there they were the survivors of the war. And so they became a couple and were married, and that's what became my mother and father. So it was kind of like a fairy tale thing happened to them, really, at the end of the war. Happened to all the good people who survived the war, and they made it to Groundhog Day 2, if you like. The war was a repetitive thing, and wars are repetitive. They come and they go, and mankind is not learning his lesson, really. And the lesson he's not learning is, thou shalt not fight with weapons. And we all know it's wrong, yeah. If a bully comes along and tries to fight against somebody who is smaller than them, you know, this happens at school and things like that, what you have to do is, you have to say, "No, bully, we have to tie your arm behind your back," or whatever it is, to get him onto the same level as the person he's trying to bully, so that they can have a fair fight, right? There's such a thing as a fair fight. And if you don't play a fair fight, you don't get to move on to the next step. You have to learn your lesson over and over again. Like this guy in Groundhog Day, he was trying to get what he wanted unfairly by cheating, and he couldn't get it. In the end, he just had to be good and not want anything before he actually got what he was dreaming of. So that's one thing, to tie his arm behind his back. What happens if a man is defeated? Let's say the man is defeated in a fist fight, and he's on the ground, and you know the crowd is around, say yeah to the victor and so on, and he sees a stone and he reaches for a stone, and while the other man's back's turned, he whacks him on the head with a stone, right? The first weapon. Is that allowed to use a weapon against somebody? That's cheating, right? That's cheating. And so the whole crowd goes, "Ah!" and then they stone him to death, right? That would have happened in in a natural society where everybody was allowed to do whatever they felt like doing, right? A natural justice forms in that society. But if you say nobody can do anything, you just have to stand back and watch, then the bully gets up and he starts to carry the stone around permanently then he's the man with the stone, you know, and you've got evil take over the world, and before you know it, they've all got machine guns or anti-tank weapons or, you know, whatever they make, terrible killing machines, yeah. They've got this, and the good is just pushed into the background. And then the good has to just wait. Wow, those people learning their lessons in Groundhog Day in the war get tested, get eliminated, because the only way of getting rid of these weapons is to actually use them up on the battlefield. Yeah. And so it's a real tragedy, and what man is learning is, thou shalt not pick up a stone, thou shalt not use a weapon against another human being. Never. It's not allowed. It's simply a law. And there's even something lower than that, and that is, thou shalt not make a weapon and give it to somebody else to use. That's even worse. Yeah? That's like the righteous one won, and he's going, yeah, and the bully, some little punk in the crowd, hands a flick knife to the bully on the ground. You understand? You understand what I'm talking about? How this is the lowest form. This ensures the groundhog goes back in his hole. He has to do it all over again. He's got to have the war, the opportunity to pick up the stone, the opportunity to make the weapons. He's got to have it given to him again so that he can go through the same test again. Yeah? And while we wait for him to pass his test or fail his test, we have to put up with these wars in the universe. So, you know, don't let anybody tell you I'm pro-war, because I'm the most anti-war person there is in the universe. Yet, if people are going to have to learn these lessons that war provides, then we're going to have wars. So it's necessary to see the bigger picture. And nobody can help what they're doing. It's just like Groundhog Day. You know, we're just here in it. It's like a movie. You've got to play it over and over again until you get it right. I think I'm going to make a short video of this. What was that song again? When the war is over, got to start again. Okay, when the war is over, got to start again. And that's what happens at the end of the war. We have to start again. And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to get rid of all the weapons, destroy all the weapons, right? And make our laws correct. So we have to change our laws, say nobody is allowed to build weapons anymore or give them to other people. All the weapons have to be destroyed. Now, I'm not talking about nuclear weapons or whatever. It's every single weapon. You can't have a weapon in the world. You know, we just have to learn this lesson that weapons are not allowed. And it's just as much not allowed for governments to have weapons as it is for people to have weapons. You know, if you've got a government with weapons and people with no weapons, well, then you're just finished. There's nothing you can do except hope that some other body of people with weapons comes and sorts your government out. Because you can't do it anymore, okay? So it's very, very important that all weapons go, nation by nation. And if you want to, you can try to make an international consortium, but in the end it's better that a nation looks after itself. Because if a nation says, I will not make weapons, I will not allow weapons in my country, then you'd be surprised how that might be respected. As long as you do everything else well, you will find out that, as in Groundhog Day, you'll get the nice lady in the end, and you'll be able to move on to lesson number 2, which is Groundhog Day 2 and Groundhog Day 3. And there are many lessons to learn in this life, not just 1 or 2. But using weapons is one of them. You do not pick a weapon up. You do not make weapons. Making weapons is what gangs do. You know? You join a gang and you start making your club, you know. And in the end, before you know it, you know, you've got whole industries, evil industries coming up, making automatic machine guns and stuff like this. Killing machines. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah, anything, but thou shalt not make killing machines even bigger sin than making killing machines. I think I said it. I'm anti-war. I'm anti-war. But whilst people are making killing machines, they've got to be killed with killing machines. You know, there's the only way for them to learn the lesson is to die and be tortured from the product of their own hands. It's simple, what one would call karma. And, well, watch Groundhog Day, people. That's all I can say. Ain't nobody gonna steal this heart away. Ain't nobody gonna steal this heart away.